Lord says, you're one lucky kid.
This is our dear Uncle John. Inspired and intrigued by his life and its journeys, this is not meant to be a biography, but an attempt to capture the spirit of this man. We dove into artifacts of nearly a century's worth of living and happiness.
What people don't get about life is enjoyment. Enjoyment, really. People don't get that. That is the most important thing. Not getting a big house. I have nothing against big houses. Enjoyment is, if there is, you didn't ask the question as yet, or what is life all about, or why are we here? It's a simple, I don't think there is any answer to that, but whatever that you do in your life, if you don't get some enjoyment out of life, you're on the wrong track. Enjoyment is part of what we are made for. If there is a question, what is life all about? I would say, we don't know. Life can be anything you want it to be. But enjoyment is good. Enjoyment is fun. Enjoyment is fulfilling. So, and that's what what happens with me, with people, and especially with the family. It's enjoyment. As a child, I had in some areas of my childhood was difficult insofar as my father was an authoritarian, and his expectations very unrealistic. And I thought deep and hard at that age, I'm helpless here. He's an adult who should know better, but he isn't. So I'm going to take care of myself. I'm not going to be bogged down by it. It is difficult, but I'm going to move on. I have other things. I can play with my cousins. I can go to the river. I can chase butterflies. I can get these beautiful looking moths, take them home. Look at these birds. Fish in the water. In other words, there are a lot of other good things going for me. That's how I dealt with it. And that way of approaching life developed as I grew up. It was very easy for me to say, yep, this is hard, this is even stupid, move on. Let not this pull you down. This is a great, great lesson I was happy to develop. When I went to the Jesuits, it was a transformative change, because the whole message and ideal was that you renounced, quote, the world. In other words, this material world, you're not part of that. You are part of the kingdom that Jesus preached. And specifically the kingdom that Ignatius Loyola founded, the Jesuit order. You're part of that order. That's your family. That's where you belong. It's not only that you belong, but you submit yourself to their demands. You don't have an identity of your own. You are a soldier. That's the word he used. You're a soldier in the army of Christ. And so that's how I saw myself. And I didn't fight that because life was good. I mean, that's maybe the reason I'm saying, you got up in the morning, you didn't want to get up that early, but you had breakfast, you had food, nobody is bothering you. You do the things as a group. And then, of course, the intellectual life began to develop. Life of ideas, You're reading books, reading about primarily saints, but you see them as people who were accomplished, people who went to China, people who went to India, people who came to this country, like Pierre Marquette and those people. I mean, you begin to, your life, even though you are nobody or you don't have an identity, you begin to identify with these kind of people. America was riding very high in India. Very high. In fact, I had answered an ad in the local papers in India for high school students to tour India, to US, and I had applied. Never even heard back from them, but I'm sure thousands might have applied. And at that time in India, there were two major powers competing for world domination. That was the Soviet Union and America. And that I would say that maybe about 50-50 in India, but mostly I think maybe the majority were for America. And they would compete with things like magazines. They would have a United States Information Service office in major cities, USIS. And they would have glossy magazines depicting American life, kids laughing and agricultural developments, big farms, movie stars and all that. And young people just ate it up. The Soviets also competed in the same plane, but more in a patriotic, more, these things are, we have equality, Americans talk about equality, but we are all equal here, that kind of message. India had a strong Communist Party competing with the Congress Party. So, I was sucked into this already. And that's the time I came here. And I don't really know if there was a point at which it made a difference, hey, I have an identity. It's true that I'm a member of this organization, but I do have an identity. I can think for myself. And that line of thinking is what led me to leave the organization. In other words, I cannot align myself as an individual with sense of freedom and so on with that kind of a life. That's when I decided to leave the Jesuits. That was a very tough time. Other than that, it has been fairly smooth sailing with little bumps here and there. And how do I deal with it? Take a deep breath in a metaphorical sense. And this too shall pass. And clear your mind. Clearing your mind is a major part of my modus vivendus. I go for a long walk, go camping, get out of the environment you are in. It's fantastic how nature can heal you. Instead of wallowing in the misery that you are experiencing. What I am is a lot of it is formed by these issues. Discipline, for instance. I'm a disciplined person. I'm tried to be logical. That came from the Jesuits, both in the lifestyle as well as in studying logic as a subject. And not to be swayed by the things that happen around you immediately. Analyze it, see what it is worth to you or to the society. In my dealings with people, I'm simple. I'm not going to, get into heavy stuff. But for most people, I'm simple. The 60s and early 70s made were monumental for cultural change in this country. The hippies were a clash on the proper Americans. You dress this way, that way. It comes a bunch of kids who don't care for their values in clothing, and they sit and chant and play the guitar, and of course read. They're tuning out, and then come the Beatles wearing this long hair, and all the kids screaming, and that was also part of it, the changes. So it was changing dramatically, fast, and the war was raging towards the end of the Johnson years, and protests were all over the place. I couldn't get to my classes at Berkeley because the campus was occupied by military. I would say that's military in the sense of National Guard. There was tear gas. And so we met in people's houses for a whole semester. And the civil rights marches going from Berkeley to Oakland, closing down the military recruitment center. Amazing periods to live through, Then, of course, the Watergate trials and the resigning of a president. It's just incredible all that happened in my lifetime. I'm a curious person. I think that is perhaps at the back of that part of my life, the traveling part of my life. It's curious how, say, the people in Guatemala live. I read about the Incas and the Mayas and wanted to be there where it happened. And of course they have their current, what's the word for that? Their successors still there. And of course they have been contaminated by modern civilization and colonizing people. But still they are there, but their monuments are there. And you say, these ancestors of these people that I talk to now built these, very sophisticated monuments. So that's a great, it's learning, it is discovery. That kind of thing is what prompted me to travel. Cultures, civilizations, people, basically. And then there are some other kinds of travel, really adventure travel, like the Amazon, which is just pure enjoyment, being in a pristine place where very few people have gone, and being part of nature. And nature has always been my strength. Nature is healing. Nature is teaching. Nature is your friend. So those two things, getting to know people and their past, and then just being way out in the boonies sometimes. I would call it a well-regulated life. You have priorities, that your health is a priority, your fitness is a priority. So you don't do things that will that detriment to those priorities you set for you. In other words, if I use alcohol, it is moderately. If I eat, I'm always use moderation in my eating habits. I manage to get enough sleep and completely stay away from stress. Stress is something that eats into you. The patriarch role is something that was thrust upon me. I didn't create, I didn't wish for it. The reason for family is I just enjoy people, the different characters in the family. They have their own capabilities, interests, and very thoughtful, many of them, and eager to learn. It's just a pleasure being with family members. I mean, there is no formality here. That's the main thing. A lot of families, especially in this country, there's a lot of formality to say, it's a come visit, and it's brief, it's gone. But when you guys are here, you are just here as members of the family. You do your thing, I don't have to take care of you. I don't have to entertain you. That's the informality of it. So the family, our family, is extremely informal. And that's the way I want it. If any family member happens to be formal, that becomes stressful. I'm in many ways fearless. I don't have any fears that threaten me. I accepted mortality as early as I could. I started reasoning. It's a reality, birth, death. So that's not an issue. What is the worst that can happen to somebody? You die. But you don't know that. So you don't worry about it. You just live your life. It's, that's all that you can do. And if you think about what happens when you are 90, you're on the wrong track. 90 is not any number. It's just a number. You can't be thinking about, hey, what will I do when I get old? You have an idea, but you take care of. We live in the moment. People don't live in the moment. People live in the past, in the future, and also in the past, worrying about being being regretting the opportunities you missed, not doing what could have been, should have been. It's all just negativity. Just live in the moment, but be ready to accept what comes and deal with what comes. So, that's what life's all about. Which is important that we find calm somewhere. The reality of life is in today, your life, other people's lives are so busy and crowded, but then we all need to find a calm somewhere. I feel that we are all born with the skills to live, to survive, and I think we have within us the power to process things, referring to some earlier conversations we had, it is moving on. Where does this that I'm experiencing now fit into my overall life? It is, whether it is working with kids and seeing the horrendous things that happen to them, there isn't anything more I can do than I'm doing. And is it enough? Obviously not. But I'd done the best I could. And this is the world we live in. This is the world we have to accept, though we don't want to accept it. It's only so much a human being can do. There is no use stressing out about it. The more I get stressed out, I would be less effective in my work. That's what I mean by we are given this instrument within us. If we really think about it and bring it to help us, we have that ability. We are well made. Nature has made us very much of a self-regulating mechanism. It takes time to understand that. We have in us the power. All that we can do is within us. The regrets in my life, I would say, are fairly simple and small. I would have liked to walk the John Muir Trail, which extends from Yosemite to Mount Whitney. You said it the way I look at things. I'm always positive. I look at life as a blessing, my life as a blessing. It's just, I've been lucky. This is just, just a little bubble that burst. You don't want to look back. You can't go back in life. There was a time I could have done certain things, such as the John Muir Trail, but yeah, it's gone. Move on. There are other trails besides John Muir Trail. I'm not trying to be anything, but I am. This whole travel journey has been that. So the best thing anybody can tell describe me as saying he is a decent human being, or he's a good human being. That would be a good epitaph for me. So it's words, I'm not trying to be anything to anybody. I'm not taking on a role. I'm just being myself. That's what I'm doing. It's see, it's life is fairly simple. The Greek statement, the Greek expression "noti se auton," which is know thyself. It's as old as civilization. Is something that I have taken to heart very seriously. Who am I? I don't want to be anything that I am not. I don't want to pretend to be something. I don't negate what I am. I am just what I am. And that's what gives you fulfillment. I think we used that word. I think Matt used that word the other day. When a disciple approached the Buddha and said, "Sir, I understand you got enlightenment." Yeah, I did. That's what people say. But what do you feel? I feel content. I feel I'm happy. I'm all right. And so, but what was this nirvana like? So he replied with some kind of a answer like, "That's a kind of inappropriate question. It's not the right question." "Oh, why is that?" "Well, I got nirvana, but that's something that you experience. I cannot just describe it to you. You got to find your own nirvana." So that's a great lesson that he's teaching. We are all different, but we need to come to our own contentment in our own way. Yeah, for you, it may be through action and achievement, teaching people something. For others, it may be something else. I don't see in my thinking that I'm very accepting of somebody who doesn't want to do anything. So long as that person is self-supporting, self-reliant, and not creating problems to society, so much the better. My hat's off to that person. In other words, achievement, this is a surprise. It's not a criticism of you or anybody else. Is not an agenda that nature has made for us. It's that we set those kind of agendas, and then we take the consequences of that. My way of looking at life, the experience I described with my father made me think, and that line of thinking permeates all my life. In other words, children, I understood that children should be treated with respect. Not necessarily as adults, but they are not. But they are human beings in their own right. And they are going to grow up. And what they need is nurturance, respect more than anything else. Respect a child. These children up the street there, I'm very respectful of them. If they want to do something, I'm not the type that says, "Hey, don't do that, you're going to hurt yourself." Unless I really feel it is dangerous, I let them do that. I'm not protective. I want them to explore. I want them to feel the adult is respecting what they're doing. And that is something that I have done all my life. People talk about conspiracy theories. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I understand them. They're taking the opposite view and asking questions, there is nothing wrong with asking questions. No question. The old statement, there are no wrong questions, there are only wrong answers. I 100% subscribe to that. So ask any stupid question you want, That's how I see things.
I have the
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah.